ready to go?
Okay. I'm good on the ones and twos.
You're great.
Hey, welcome to the third installment of Volume 1's Nerd of Mouth.
Soon to be followed by Ultimate Nerd of Mouth when this first series gets a little too stale.
And New Word of Mouth when we're replaced by minorities.
Oh, yeah.
An all new, all different Word of Mouth. The Native American dies in the second episode. So, how's it going? I'm Mike Lawrence.
And I'm Jake Young.
And we're going to talk about some nerd shit today. Starting off, there are some new nerd cartoons. We've got Avengers.
Technically children's cartoons, but really nerd cartoons.
Cartoons for men who still wish they were children. We've got Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes on the Marvel side, and on the Distinguished Competition side, we have Young Justice.
Now, both, I feel, have problems. Like, they're fairly competent, but both have just these weird issues. I, for one, am pretty sure the TV show Young Justice exists solely for 12-year-old girls to draw weird pictures of the characters on DeviantArt. Like,
which they already did for Teen Titans.
Yes.
We'll start with Young Justice. I believe at the time of this, only the pilot has aired. That's all I've seen.
The movie thing, but weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
Anytime they try and involve like Superboy, like that character is just such a weird character to be existing in the current universe. Like,
yeah, Connor. Yeah, it started off okay. They're fighting the different ice-based villains, but the whole Cadmus thing and Dubalex and putting some of them Kirby characters in there, they're really
the Guardian. They had the Guardian.
Well, one thing that's weird to me is the idea of like trying to be really super, kid friendly and all that, but then have like these, really obscure characters that only, the creepiest old
Dabney
man.
Donovan.
Yeah,
like.
Yeah, when like Doiby Dickles is like in a cartoon and someone's like, I remember him. But then they have action figures of Doiby Dickles. It's a little weird. It's like, who are they? Who's the real audience here? Because I feel like Batman Brave and the Bold, like
that's a great show.
There's a really good balancing act of it's for kids, but there is enough for adults, and it works on both levels.
Any cartoon show that will have the Doom Patrol and pull it off.
And Kite Man.
As
a leading antagonist. He's a man with kites. That's his arc. But yeah, I feel Young Justice, it's just the pilot. But Greg Weisman is behind it.
What else has he done?
He's really known for the Spectacular Spider-Man, which I wasn't that big a fan of, but it kind of got its footing around the second season. I feel like
that's the one with the Hydroclone saga, right?
No, that was the 90s Spider-Man. Yeah. No, Spectacular Spider-Man was Spectacular Spider-Man. And not to be confused with the, like 2001, 2000, Neil Patrick Harris.
That was, no one remembers.
Yeah, I remember.
There's like a conspiracy theory of, it's like an entire society of people like, do you guys remember there was a Spider-Man cartoon?
I liked it because you had Michael Dorn as Kraven. That was pretty awesome. They combined a thing that two people like over here, and they combined a thing that two people like over there. And Michael Dorn is Kraven. I like that. They also had Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin.
Did you notice in the Young Justice pilot they kind of had Superman as like an absentee dad?
Yeah,
like the last it's like the last scene, and it's hard to catch. But like Superboy just walks up, and it's like, "I'm your clone. I'm like your son." And Superman's just like, "That's great. I gotta go. Go save a bus of later." Like,
what's also weird is that they're calling it Young Justice, which is the name of the Peter David comic from a few years ago.
And don't forget the art of Todd Nowak.
Yeah,
Which
and it
is
was really good. But that was like that
I
had
love that
humor. It was a lot of fun. This
Red Tornado was the dad. Of
yeah, which is better than I feel like with this. It's like, oh, we got to get Superman and Batman in there, and I think you know what? I'll watch like the next few episodes. Jury's not out. But we'll see. It's just nice to have these things on. And now, what do you think of Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes?
I kind of liked number one. I don't know if we can do this within fair use, but if you can pipe in like 10 seconds of the theme song, and you can hear it, or just go to YouTube and look up opening theme.
Well, it's like now the day is warm.
It is like
together fighting on.
It's such a terrible song and so over the top, and like they must have written it in like 2003. I don't know, but it's so
when
weird.
Things get really grim, you can count on Hank Pym. Yeah.
The swordsman by your side. We also got Black Knight. I did not like that theme song. It's just
Wonder Man will die, and the Vision will show you an android can cry.
it's so emo, like Linkin Park Seaside.
Yeah. Oh God, it's like if Michael Bay did the Avengers.
But it seems competently done. There's a lot. The first episode was just a huge Marvel, like, hey, remember this guy? Hey, remember this guy?
Yeah, the Gibbon was in it.
Yeah, the Gibbon.
There's a lot of cool. Graviton was the main villain.
Gray Gargoyle.
Yeah, it was. I've been watching it. It's one of these things like when you're addicted to this shit. Like it's like if you're like a coke fiend. You're still going to snort mediocre Coke. It's like if there was a really great Avengers cartoon, I'd be watching it now. If there was a mediocre Avengers cartoon, I'm watching it now. Because it's the Avengers. It's Wonder Man. It's like, I love this stuff. But yeah, both Avengers and Young Justice just not up to snuff. And I think a part of the reason why is one thing that they're missing, because I think, I don't know if you'll agree with me, but Batman the animated series, Superman, and Justice League, which I all count as like one big arc. We could kind of put Batman Beyond in there, but that stuff, like, that is the pinnacle of superhero animation. You agree?
I agree. I absolutely agree.
And one of the things that they had that neither of these cartoons,
so what we're saying is the real problem with these shows is that they weren't on when we were 12.
No, yeah, but those still hold
I still
up.
agree though that
but Justice League was it ended like in 2006. But one of the things that they had, and I think this might help lead to why these aren't as good, is that they had really great voice actors. They hired awesome guys like Ron Perlman as Orion and Mark Hamill as the Joker, and now it's just like these no-name voice actors.
Did you notice in the Avengers cartoon they actually made Iron Man just sound like a bad Robert Downey Jr. impersonator?
Yeah, it sucks.
He's not like everyone else has these like mighty heroic voices, and then out of Iron Man it's just like, yeah, Pepper, could I get a latte?
Yeah, it's very and generic and. But there's not that flavor. Whereas you look at like those Justice League cartoons, like they had like Jeremy Piven voicing the elongated man, and I think he had 3 lines, but it's like a distinguishable voice. Michael Ironside is Darkseid. Like it just adds so much as opposed to just a guy who sounds like this.
So you're saying the guy playing Blockwoman on Young Justice.
Who I think is the guy who did Cyborg on Teen Titans.
But they're doing this thing where like they need. I mean, it's a modern day like.
Yeah, okay, just for you guys, Aqualad on Young Justice.
Oh, I'm sorry, Blockwalad.
Yeah, Aqua. I just can't imagine a black person calling themselves a lad. That seems. I ain't nobody's lad, fool. I know that's right. I'm using racism to fight racism right now. But no, I feel it's weird. They have they want a black character in the show. I get it, but Aqualad.
Yeah, like why? Like if they honestly, it'd be awesome. Blooper Boy
Yeah.
or
Blid Blash.
or Blobbin.
Or Bleedy.
Well, Bleedy, let's not go crazy.
Hey guys, let's
That's
take
what
a
they call Wonder Girl on her period.
Oh yeah!
And with that, we'll be right back.
Yeah. And we're back.
We're back. So yeah, the idea of like forcing the minority character, like now what annoys me about this, like because in the Justice League cartoon, what you were just talking about, like they didn't have, it wasn't Hal Jordan, but he's black. They had Jon Stewart, who's a part of the history, and I was fine with it. It was okay.
But here's something that I really like is it's weird. There's on TV trope. There's a trope called growing the beard, which is based on Riker from Star Trek, where in the first season he was kind of bland and not really fleshed out, and then the second season he grew out a beard and all of a sudden became an actual person who was like kind of like not roguish, but more freeform, less strict.
Yeah.
In the switch between Justice League to Justice League Unlimited, they actually stopped Jon Stewart from being just military guy into being more of an actual.
And he had a goatee.
And he grew a beard into like more of a character with an actual personality.
Well, he was hurt because Shira left him, so
right.
that had a lot to do with it.
But it made him real, and it seems to be a common thing in, especially in cartoons and comic books even. And sci-fi and a lot of these things where if they're going to make a minority character, the writers are too scared to make it like a person with actual history as a minority. So it's always just like a general that grew up in a strict military family, or an alien, or a cyborg, or they could never commit to it. And I feel like they did that in Young Justice because he's like an Atlantean soldier kid.
Yeah.
So his skin color's different, but he doesn't actually bring any cultural diversity.
Yeah.
He has
he's
none.
Just angry. And I mean, they did that with Spike on X-Men Evolution, where it's like every other character in the show is an existing character, and then they just created this character. And I mean,
was it on Superhero Squad where they threw in a Hispanic kid that turned into a dinosaur? I didn't watch that show, obviously, because it frightens me.
Yeah, that's like that's where I draw the line on my addiction, is that show. I was like, that's way too. That and Crypto that came out a few years ago. I was like, I love this stuff, but I mean, like I said, I'll snort coke, but not baby powder. But I just it's a thing of, I mean, maybe it's a sad state.
That guy from Stargate.
But that guy. It's a sad state of affairs that they have to create these characters in the first place. Maybe it says something about the comic books, initially not having enough minority characters.
I mean, I really think that it's just hire a good writer. Like, if you want this to happen, hire a good writer that can write from that perspective, and don't be ashamed of it. Static Shock, Dwayne McDuffie did great work on Static Shock and Justice League Unlimited because he actually had that perspective to work from, and they didn't have to make any minority characters. Like, these weird others that weren't like actual humans.
Yeah, but it's also a thing like with Young Justice, there were never any black members. So like there is a problem there. Like if you want,
Wait,
one,
wasn't Red Tornado?
he was colored, but he wasn't black.
Oh, you're right. My mistake.
Also Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, all colored, but
Black Manta.
Yeah, Yellow Claw. Yeah, well, you know, we'll move on, even though society hasn't.
All right.
On the next thing, you know, graphic novel picks. Something that you've read recently that you like. You want to go first, Jake?
This is going to be a really weird pick, but it hasn't been published yet. It's I read it online, and it just got picked up for a distributor. It's Mike Dawson's Troop 142, which is you can look it up online, and I'm definitely going to buy it when it comes out. It was just this really amazing story of a Boy Scout troop, which is something I had no experience with growing up, and just it really captures just how messed up in the head like American kids are between the ages of 12 and 14, and it's all these kids like struggling with growing up and you know, summer camp and like the parents being along with the ride, and some of them being like, that's just how kids are, and some are like, no, they're throwing pee on a kid, that's wrong. Yeah. And like how, you know, what does it mean to grow up, and it was just amazing read.
And I'm starting to think of my really shitty Weebelo memories.
And Mike Dawson's done a lot of amazing work over the years. He's just kind of been like one of those guys you see on a booth in Artist Alley. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just publishes his own stuff, and it's always been amazing. But this, it's a really great graphic novel. Go Google Mike Dawson Troop 142 to read it right now.
Yeah, well, if you don't like that independent faggy shit, I have recently. If you wanna read something that you could actually find in a store, I have read Punisher Max Kingpin issues 1 through 5 of Jason Aaron's new arc.
Jason Aaron, of course, author of Scalped.
Yes. And you know, yeah, Red Tornado's in that. I like it. I liked it a lot. This not Scalped, but Punisher. I thought it was pretty cool. Steve Dillon, who used to do a lot of the Marvel Knights stuff, is on it. And
Preacher and Punisher and
yeah, it was pretty fun. You know, one thing that was interesting was Punisher kind of takes a backseat in it. And it's really about the Kingpin and his rise to power. And now what's weird, one thing that was kind of confusing about it is that like it feels like an origin story as it is, but they say that the Punisher has been having his war on crime for 30 years, but at the same time it's Kingpin just starting out. So it's really confusing. It's like it's in the modern times, but he has his child Richard, who would, you know, end up turning into the Rose, and his wife Vanessa.
I forgot about the Rose.
Yeah, but he's a kid in this.
Ah.
He's like 8, so it's really, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. Maybe it's not canon.
I mean, if it's a Max series, it's definitely not canon.
But sometimes those are, right?
No, never.
Okay. Well, that shows how little I know. But yeah, but it was really awesome, and the Kingpin is really vicious in it. If you read Arkham Asylum Penguin, which is a definite must read, what Aaron did with the Penguin in that, he does with the Kingpin, but even better, because in that he just builds up the Penguin, but nothing ever comes of it. This, he builds up the Kingpin, and you get to see.
Is there like Jason Aaron is known for like these like really slow builds to just these awesome moments where like these characters, like, is there like a really cool scene in that?
Yeah, well, there's a great fight scene. You know, with Ennis had this guy, the Russian. I think Aaron kind of tried topping him. He has this Amish guy called the Mennonite. And he's like super religious, and he only fights with the tools the Lord gave him. So he has like a mallet and like a hammer.
I think this has been around for a few years, right?
This came out like within the last year.
I think I've read that. I've read like one isolated issue of that, and yeah, it's
a
so
really
badass.
vicious fight, and it's
Dylan
like,
can draw crazy violence.
yeah, I mean, all of his characters look constipated,
True.
but it's fun. It's really good. He draws humor really well.
That's
and there's enough of it. It's funny because it is very much. I feel like Garth Ennis is kind of the definitive Punisher writer. He did it better than anybody, but I feel like he's kind of playing that same note, but it's different enough. Because it's like Ennis isn't writing Punisher anymore, but if you want that kind of style, this is a good way to go. With enough, I think, original flair on its own.
Cool. I definitely got to pick. I mean, can I borrow it?
I read it at a Barnes & Noble.
Yay!
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Yeah. So yeah, I read this thing at a Barnes & Noble, and one of the reasons why comic books are way too damn expensive.
I mean, considering their humble roots of, what was it, a penny?
Well, their humble roots are a tree
Yeah.
that are carved into pulp and then taken to a warehouse where we have many artists.
Thanks, crazy Stanley. Oh, can we just,
We have many artists create the characters, their origins, and their stories, and then a man known as the writer comes in and gets all the credit. And pussy.
Can we do dueling Stanley pickup lines? I think we did that first episode.
Your boyfriend's being a dick. I call him the ultimate nullifier.
J. Jonah Jameson called my penis a menace. Will you be the one to catch him?
Hey, could I come on your face? My cum is made of unstable molecules.
You make me hard as adamantium. That's not his creation. I concede defeat.
That's Roy Thomas, the best page boy that ever existed. Oh man, that's fun. But yeah, they were originally back in my day. Well, back in my day, they were like 75 cents.
That's a good price.
That was 20 years ago.
But at some point it got to be around $3.99. But now, which there's nothing worse. I remember like last year I was very, very into comics. I think Blackest Night was still going on. Like I just followed a bunch of series. And like I would walk away with like $50 for just a week's worth of comics that like
10 or 12 books. Yeah, it's insane.
And but now DC has stepped in and actually made a solemn vow. They've made a big deal about this. They're drawing the line at $2.99, and that is clearly going to accomplish something.
Well, I saw some books. I was at the Forbidden Planet this week, and using the rest of my gift card, and I saw some books for $3.99 from DC. Maybe they were the prestige format.
Okay, let me just repeat this amazing tag. They're drawing the line at $2.99.
Yeah, but which Kubert brother is drawing the line? Do I want to read the line? Is Straczynski writing it? Because
Jeffrey John was supposed to write the line, but it's 3 months late.
it's not. It's Geoff.
Geoff.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, here's the problem. Comic books, especially now when they're more, there's not as much words and stuff. Like, you read them in like 10 minutes and it's done for $4. Like, that's insane.
Was it like, and I've seen ads, like basically video games and the army are the two things. For some reason, they know
whether you're disenfranchised on one side or the other. Yeah.
Apparently those
whether
don't
you
pay
like
those.
playing Call of Duty or will have to live it someday.
Yeah, I don't quite know. Like, are they losing money on them? Like, I still don't.
Well, the industry
they're not
has
printed
been
on
waning for
newsprint.
years. I mean, it's. I mean, after the bust of like the mid '90s, the clone bust, the age of Augustalypse.
There's not even foil covers on these things.
Yeah, it has not recovered in like 15 years, and I mean, when you look like, and obviously it was a different example, but like you look at like Jim Lee's X-Men, like 8 million copies,
Right.
Spider-Man 6 million copies. Like now, if they break like 300,000,
That's a runaway hit.
yeah.
That is a smash.
Which is funny because comic book movies are so much more popular. They've never found a way to get.
That is always what freaked me out was that, like Spider-Man will bring in millions of dollars worldwide, but no one. Although the Obama comic book brought in a lot.
I think a huge part of the problem is they don't know who to appeal to.
Oh, right.
So it's like, because they keep rebooting this stuff, dude. And, they're like, not your dad's X-Men. It's like, yeah, but I like my dad's X-Men. It's like, so me and you as hardcore fans, like, we get fucked over because they keep changing the stuff. Like, there's
a difference between fucked over and mildly inconvenienced.
But what I'm saying is, like for like 25 years, I could tell you everything about Wolverine, like, with complete confidence. And then, like, now he has a kid, and now there's, like, Booby Wolverine, and, and now they did, like, the Wolverine origin. Like, they changed so much. Like, in a way to simplify it, they've made it so complicated,
Oh, yeah, well, it's you have to play with these characters, otherwise you end up with just. So you're saying you don't like the fact there are all these different versions running around?
Well, yeah, because, it doesn't unify. It's like if you're a kid, which is what comic books used to be written for, right? Like if you're a kid and you go into the comic shop and you pick up a Spider-Man comic, you probably want an experience as close to, like the film canon as possible. And I know the films, like, change things, but, like, you want, like, a simplified, experience. And I think you can do that and still have complex themes and stuff. You just don't have to have this complex continuity.
There was in old-timey comics, this is pretty funny, is in old-timey comics, if you picked up a Spider-Man comic, there would be like a paragraph on the top written by Stan Lee, and just be like, mild-mannered teenager Peter Parker was bitten by a radioactive
Bruce
spider.
Banner was in the desert,
and he became the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
And now, especially in modern comics, they have like a whole page of those catch-up pages where it's like, Spider-Man was a mild-mannered teenager that then became a reporter that then married a girl, but then he got unmarried, and his brother became a doctor and a clone of himself. And the Lizard was turned into the Anti-Lizard, but now his son has become Ultimate Lizard.
Yeah, sometimes they'll do that. Like DC was good about that for a while with their team books, where they would have like they would show the whole roster at the beginning of the graphic novel and tell you like a little about them and what's going on. And I think that stuff's great. Marvel, like in the late '90s, they would have like the gatefold, where it would be like they would show you like all the main characters and like what's happening. Like you need that stuff. Like as much as we want to keep the Mugbloods away, like they're the ones that'll keep this stuff going. Because I mean, you look at it like there are some guys who have like been subscribing to, you know, like Moon Knight, like kind of like a secondary character. Like I will read every issue of Moon Knight. It doesn't matter, you know. Like you don't need to write for that guy. He's already gonna buy it. But they have to simplify it, but also keep it, you know, like consistent. It's like with Superman. They change Superman every few years. They just did a.
Now he's walking.
Well, it's like Straczynski just did a Superman relaunch, but then you just had Geoff do one like a year ago. But
meanwhile, the best Superman story by far in the past 10 years has been All-Star Superman, which
Absolutely.
just did away with everything and just reduced. It's like one of the most famous pages in modern comics where like they just reduced the entire history of Superman to just like doomed planet, only son, kindly farm couple, Earth's hero, and like that was it. That was like everything you needed to know, and that was it. I feel like it's a soap opera. You know, have you ever watched a soap opera like outside of continuity? It's indecipherable. It's weird. It's nothing makes sense to you, and you just want to turn it off.
yeah, but how does but for instance, like As the World Turns or something, when this show's like been on like 20 or 30
Their
years.
fans love it.
Yeah, but they get new fans, right? Like
Do
there are
they?
new people that have to catch up. I mean, those people are dying all the time. You know, women in their 50s and 60s and stuff. Yeah, there's people that watch that stuff that weren't even born when it started. You know, you're talking like General Hospital, like the thing's been on for like 40 years.
Oh,
By the way, I would love it if we got a complaint from someone like, all your comic book knowledge is dead on, but you know jack shit about General Hospital.
As the World Turns. How dare you compare comic books to the genius that is As the World Turns?
Yeah.
When Dr. Bobby Sex Muscle was found to be secretly reborn, it was the greatest moment of my life.
He was reborn with the super soldier serum.
Yeah.
As I called the SSS.
I'm not going to argue with making them cheaper, but a $3 comic book and a $4 comic book are equally unaffordable if all you have is like 2 dimes in your pocket
Yeah.
because you're 6.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just also that you don't even get another big problem. You don't even get a complete story anymore,
Right.
and that's a big thing. It's like, how is it that for 10 cents in 1963 I could pick up a 22-page comic and get a full experience, but now in 2011 for $4 plus tax, did they tax 10 cents? Was it just like?
You know what? I've always said this, and again, there's no way to make this amusing. They really should switch to the Japanese model, where it's just you get a big digest.
Bulging eyes and skirts. No.
Oh, that's it's you just get a huge volume of just maybe 10 continuing stories,
Yeah.
and they better be the 10 most popular stories, because if it loses interest, it goes away. And
Or as they say, ruse interest.
oh, Michael-san, very offensive. Oh, very offensive.
You'll bring a greater dishonor to the Justice League and its new member, Breedy.
The circle is complete.
Yes.
Take us home, Mike Lawrence.
Well, you know, let's say we learned a few things. It doesn't matter how mediocre and bland Avengers and Young Justice are, because you'll watch them. It'd be nice if there were more black characters in comic books, so there could be more black characters in cartoons. Check out, was it Troop 142?
Correct, sir.
and Punisher Kingpin. Also, it'd be nice if comic books were simpler, but they're not. If you really love something, you'll spend a lot of money on it, or you'll just read it at Barnes & Noble.
Yeah.
And racism can work if you just make it funny enough. So I'm Mike Lawrence.
I'm Jake Young, manning the ones and twos. Marcus
And-
Parks.
Yeah, and we'll be back sooner than later.